Welcome to NarrativeNook where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Romeo hoisted Arabella onto his back once again. Looks like the girl they're talking about was Clark's girlfriend, Carol. Arabella didn't resist. She wrapped her arms around his neck and murmured, "I didn't realize Carol held such a high position in the organization before. Being unanimously respected by the elders, she must be pretty talented." Previously, Clark thought Carol was a sweet, fragile girl. It seemed that Carol always presented herself as a gentle girl in front of Clark and their parents, much like herself. Think about it, she's been missing for a year, and no one in the organization can find her. This shows that she indeed has some skills, Romeo analyzed. He also wondered what kind of existence this organization was, as he had never heard of it before. She managed to hide for over 300 days. "That's impressive," Arabella looked at Romeo's profile and said softly, "It seems our guess was right. Carol probably wanted to leave the organization for Clark and ended up hurting the elders, hence the death sentence." "Dedicated to love and righteousness," Romeo commented, "respectable." "I wonder if she's hiding around here," Arabella speculated. "The most dangerous place may be the safest, perhaps." "Unlikely. Even if it were safe, it wouldn't be possible to hide under everyone's noses for more than 300 days without being discovered. I think there might be something here that's worth our time," Romeo speculated, "perhaps some kind of leverage against the organization. If the elders were ruthless and didn't hold back, then Carol might also plan to go down fighting. Didn't those two men mention earlier that what the elders cared about was that thing? That thing might be incriminating evidence. Look, something's going on up ahead." At this point, Arabella's gaze fell on the mountain ahead. The terrain was steep and not suitable for setting up camp, so few people ventured there. However, there were some lights and people at the foot of the mountain. "Put me down," Arabella whispered in Romeo's ear. Romeo squatted down. After she got off, he took the binoculars she handed him from her bag and looked ahead. There were indeed people gathered at the foot of the mountain, not many, about a dozen or so. It seemed like they were guarding the mountain. Could this mountain hold some unknown secrets? Arabella also took out binoculars from her bag and looked towards the foot of the mountain. These people were walking back and forth near the foot of the mountain, as if patrolling or perhaps protecting the mountain. Could there be some secret hidden inside? Something's off. Arabella tried to get a clearer look, but her view was obstructed due to the terrain. She looked up to see a large tree nearby and softly told the man beside her, "Wait for me here." In a few strides, she climbed up the tree and quickly perched on its thick trunk. She took out her binoculars again and continued observing the situation. Romeo chuckled lightly and followed her up the tree. "Without some unique skills, I really wouldn't be able to keep up with you." Arabella didn't expect him to follow. She smiled and continued observing the foot of the mountain. "Look, someone's coming out from inside." There seemed to be an entrance in the mountain. The man who came out was treated with great respect by everyone, who bowed and nodded at him. "What do you think they use to go in and out?" Arabella speculated. Fingerprints? Or something like a swipe card? Could it be the small silver key that Carol left behind? "Why don't we find out?" Arabella, light as a feather, descended from the tree to the ground. Romeo followed her lead. The guards only caught a glimpse of two shadowy figures before they found themselves unconscious on the ground. "I'll handle the heavy lifting." Romeo, unable to bear the thought of Arabella straining herself, kicked the unconscious guards into the underbrush to avoid drawing attention. When Arabella was up in the tree earlier, she saw a man emerge from the mountain, fiddling with a stone. She mimicked the man's actions, turning the stone counterclockwise. Suddenly, a translucent scanner appeared. It must be a security system. Arabella pulled out her own custom-built software on her phone and scanned the scanner. She soon discovered various traces of past check-ins. These people must have been using a check-in system to access the area. Each person had a different card with dozens of unique patterns. Arabella input a string of codes into her phone, separating each pattern. One by one, odd-shaped patterns emerged on her screen. Suddenly, a red light on the scanner started flashing urgently, accompanied by a cold, mechanical voice. "You have exceeded the time limit. Please validate your identity within 10 seconds, or an alarm will be activated." 10, 9, 8, 7. Among the separated patterns, Arabella spotted a key-shaped one identical to the one Carol had given them. 6, 5, 4. Arabella used the small key to check in. The scanner's red light turned a gentle blue. The mechanical voice softened. "Welcome home, Master." "Master?" A smirk played on Arabella's lips. "Seems like the path ahead should be easier." A door opened in front of them, and the passage inside was illuminated with high-level lights. Arabella explained, "Being recognized as the Master by this system means that no traps or hidden weapons will target her. The path the Master takes is definitely different from that of ordinary people. Maybe it leads to the Master's private residence." "Let's find out," Romeo suggested, taking her hand and leading her inside. They had reached a dead end. As Arabella was looking for the next scanner, a door emerged from the left wall. They went through 9 doors before they finally entered the Master's private domain. Everything in this place was made of cold stone. 10-meter-high walls were decorated with carvings of giant, mythical beasts warding off evil spirits. The eerie electronic candlelight gave off a chilling aura. If one didn't know better, they would think they'd stumbled into a vampire's lair. It was cold, unlike any human abode. The space was dauntingly vast, with sofas and tables all carved from stone. Everything about this place screamed one message to anyone who dared enter: the Master of this place was heartless. A giant diagram on the floor was another talisman against evil spirits. The Master must have committed heinous deeds to have such wards in place. "There's a path over there," Romeo pointed to a door on the right. Arabella scanned the area with her detector. Finding no cameras or bugs, she followed Romeo into the room. Ordinarily, such a room would be a lounge or an office. But here, it was a laboratory. The faint smell of blood lingered in the air. Arabella sprayed a luminous substance, revealing glowing spots on the floor. This indicated that a lot of blood had been spilled here. The glow seemed to protest past atrocities silently. Could the Master have been conducting human experiments here? Impossible. At this level, what tasks would still require the Master's personal attention? What kind of experiments had been conducted in this place by its owner? Why were there so many bloodstains on the floor? Wasn't this supposed to be a private residence? If one wanted to conduct gruesome experiments, wouldn't there be other places more suitable? "These 2 computers are used the most frequently," Romeo said as he pulled out his smartphone to scan the 7 or 8 computers around them. "Shall we each take one and see who cracks it first?" Arabella was surprised by the scanning software on his phone, but she chuckled upon hearing his challenge. "Sure." The 2 of them sat shoulder to shoulder once more, their fingers flying over the keyboards. The initial task was to hack into the system, which was a piece of cake for them. They had expected to effortlessly break through the system like before, but the firewalls on these 2 computers were more formidable than anticipated. "If the owner of this place is really Carol, think she's quite clever. At least she knows how to set up her own firewall," Arabella said as she continued to type. Unfortunately, even the most robust firewall would eventually crumble before her. It took Arabella less than 10 seconds to bypass the firewall and gain access to the system. However, the computer screen was blank, most likely due to manual deletion. She then began to recover the data, and after a while, she found a hidden file that took up a whopping 6 gigabytes of memory. She connected her phone to the computer, intending to take the file back for further analysis. However, a red warning popped up on the screen. "Please answer 3 questions. Friendly reminder: if one question is answered incorrectly, the file will be automatically deleted within 3 seconds, and an alarm will sound." What is his full name? Arabella was speechless. What kind of question was this? She only had 10 seconds to answer, and in the countdown, she could only type, "Clark." Surprisingly, it was the correct answer. Could the question have been set by Carol? Wasn't she afraid that the person who came would be someone else? What if they couldn't answer the question? Would the alarm attract everyone in the area, leading to their capture? When was we getting together? Seeing this question, Arabella rolled her eyes. The screen displayed a countdown: 10, 9, 8, 7. Arabella quickly thought back to what Clark had told her. He said that Carol had disappeared for a year. Before that, they had dated for a year. Clark had once mentioned that the day they started dating was a holiday, and the place was crowded. He had plucked up the courage to ask her out to the most beautiful amusement park in Summerfield. That day, even the grand fireworks couldn't compare to her radiant smile. Arabella turned to Romeo. When does the amusement park have fireworks? On the first day of every month. So, it's October 1st? It was indeed. If it weren't for Clark's previous conversation with her, they would have been trapped there today. When is his birthday? Arabella was speechless again. During the countdown, she swiftly dialed David on her smartphone. Hans Stern's schedule was nerve-wracking. Chaucel often had special assignments that made phone calls inconvenient, and her parents were already fast asleep at this hour. The only one she could rely on now was the night owl David. Ha! David was flabbergasted, thinking he had misheard. Speak up. Only 4 seconds she was left. It's Singles Day, November 11th, but Bella, why are you suddenly asking about this? Arabella promptly hung up, typed in 1111, and got the correct answer. The data package began to download automatically. Arabella breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Romeo next to her. His side profile was flawless, his slender fingers tapped on the keyboard, and his bright eyes were beautiful. Soon, the defensive program on the computer was rewritten, and the data package was downloading smoothly. Arabella noticed the name of his downloaded package, Experiment Data. So, what was she downloading? It didn't even have a name, just a C to represent. C? Could it be a memory of Clark and Carol's past? Or does it imply anything else? Soon, the data package was downloaded, and a line of text popped up on the screen. All data will be destroyed in 10 seconds. Countdown 10, 9, 8, 7. Arabella watched it count down second by second until the screen displayed, destruction complete. She then stood up and said, "Let's go." The two had just stepped out of the icy private residence. The stone door behind them hadn't closed yet when countless hidden weapons came flying over. Watch out. Romeo was agile, blocking many of the hidden weapons for the girl in an instant. In the narrow stone path, they were in a stark contrast to the dark crowd opposite them. Standing at the forefront of the crowd was an awe-inspiring old man, his aura filled with a sharp chill. He had at least 30 subordinates behind him, clearly targeting Arabella and Romeo. The commanding old man spoke with a powerful and domineering tone. "Who sent you? And how did you get in?" The rain of hidden weapons continued, and Arabella kicked one after another, which were easily blocked by the old man at the forefront. The old guy was quite agile. She suddenly thought of that old man in Florida, who probably belonged to the same group. When the rain of hidden weapons stopped, the old man signaled his men. The 30 or so people rushed towards Romeo and Arabella, and some even barged into the master's private quarters. Within a minute, someone ran up to the old man and reported, "Matthew, there's a lab inside. All the computers in the lab are displaying 4 words, destruction complete." Matthew revealed a terrifying look, coldly staring at the fighting man and woman, his tone as if he wanted to tear them apart. "What did you destroy? Who sent them to do that? Was that Carol?" In this place, apart from Carol, not even the highest-ranking elders were allowed in. In the midst of the fight, Arabella's silver key fell to the ground. Everyone who saw the key on the ground was shocked, their faces changing. This was Carol's key card, a symbol of her identity. How on earth did it end up in this girl's hand? Arabella effortlessly flicked the key into the air, catching it with a swift movement before continuing to deal with the dangers surrounding her. Could she be Carol? She had an agile form and skillful moves. Despite the girl's clear eyes that didn't resemble Carol's, Matthew took a cautious step forward. Matthew, swift as a gust of wind, appeared before Arabella. He had intended to test her skills, but Romeo beat him to it, forcing him back a few steps after only a few exchanges. "Who are you?" Matthew asked, his anger apparent. "Did Carol send you?" Arabella knocked down one of the henchmen, stepping on his stomach. She kicked up a hidden blade from the ground, holding it with lethal precision. With a teasing smirk, she retorted, "Why should we answer your questions?" Her arrogant and cool tone strangely reminded him of Carol. With her youthful voice, Matthew guessed she was a friend of Carol's, probably around the same age. He had warned Carol not to make friends on her own, but she had continued to defy him. Feeling betrayed, Matthew's anger turned into cynical laughter. "You're stuck here today. Tell me where she's hiding, and maybe I'll spare your lives. You should be more concerned about where you'll be buried." Arabella swiftly attacked, engaging Matthew in an evenly matched fight. "You go ahead, I'll handle this." Romeo took over, pushing Matthew back several steps. More and more people flooded in, blocking the only exit. Escape was no longer an option. They came in on their own. Even if they die, they're asking for it. "Either hand over Carol, or we won't leave you in one piece." "Matthew, they've destroyed all the data in the lab. Do you think they might have the data on them? If they did, it would be a disaster for their organization. Kill them." Matthew made his decision, not wanting to waste any more time. Meanwhile, Arabella's phone vibrated in her backpack. She heard the buzzing sound coming from behind her, but she and Romeo were too preoccupied trying to find a way out. Her phone kept buzzing. The caller standing outside the castle, soaked by the rain. No one answered on the other end. Looking at the crowd in front of the castle, Dennis put away his phone and pleaded, "Urgently need to speak to her, and please let me in. Our boss is asleep. You can talk tomorrow." A group of about 20 men, armed and ready, stood in front of the entrance, blocking his way. "Must see her today." "Do you think you can see our boss whenever you want?" "Bro, can't you see what time it is? It's 2 a.m. Aren't you making things difficult for us?" "Whatever it is, it can wait." The commotion attracted Tom's attention. With Jack and Jones absent, he was in charge. Seeing Tom approaching, the group of men echoed, "Bro Tom. What's going on?" "This guy insists on seeing the boss. He won't listen to reason." Tom looked up to see the wet figure of Dennis, whose eyes were filled with urgency and anxiety. He was clearly urgent. Tom stepped forward, whispering, "Our boss isn't here. Come back tomorrow if you have business with her." He was afraid of causing a ruckus and waking up Clark Collins inside. "Don't have time." Dennis looked desperately urgent. "I need to see her right now." The crowd of 20 or so people was pissed. "You think you can just see her whenever you want? We show you some respect because you saved the boss once. Don't get cocky. You want to see the boss? You'll have to step over our dead bodies first. Who the hell do you think you are? Our boss isn't your lackey. You can't just see her whenever you want. Do you think you're someone important?" Even Romeo wasn't that arrogant. Did that little shit think he could boss them around just because he'd saved the boss before? "Sorry then, no offense." Dennis moved quickly. Tom immediately intercepted, not intending to harm Dennis, but to explain the situation to him. "The boss really isn't here. She's out." "I don't believe you." Every second was precious to Dennis at that point. He had to see Arabella Bennett, and he couldn't wait another moment. "The truth is she's out. You could search the whole mansion, but you aren't going to find her." Tom still didn't hit him hard, just dodged when he could. He owed Dennis for saving the boss, after all. But Dennis at that moment was quite different. Desperate to see Arabella, his blows were fierce and ruthless. In less than a minute, he'd landed several hits on Tom. That naturally sparked outrage. "Tom's letting you off easy, and you're pushing your luck. Who the hell gave you the balls to cause trouble here? Let me at him." Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Clark had a terrible dream. He dreamt that Carol was suffering from the effects of some medication, crying in agony. He wanted to help her, but felt powerless. He could only clean her tears and hold her close. Suddenly, a thunderclap jolted the night sky, waking Clark up from his nightmare, sweat beading on his forehead. He realized that it was just a dream. He sighed in relief, wiping the sweat from his brow. He could hear the storm outside and, faintly, some sort of argument. Ignoring the pain from his injuries, he got up and went to the window. It seemed like someone was trying to force their way into the mansion, and Bella's men were stopping that person. A fight had broken out. Growing worried, he opened his bedroom door. Seeing a guard not far away, he signaled for him to come over. He didn't expect his sister's security to be even tighter than at Villa Cascada. There was a team of men guarding the second floor around the clock. It was extremely secure. "Mr. Clark? You're awake? Can I help you with something?" The man speaking was Donald, one of Arabella's loyal aides. Clark asked softly, "What's going on outside?" When Donald heard that, he explained, "Someone wants to see the boss. We didn't let him in." "This late? Looking for Bella?" Clark checked the clock on the wall. It was already 2:14 a.m. Was that man out of his mind? What can't wait till morning? In this godforsaken hour, and in the rain no less, he came here causing a ruckus? "Don't mind him," Donald assured. "We'll handle this. Sorry for waking you, Mr. Clark." "No worries," Clark replied. Glancing towards the neighboring room, he whispered, "Bella wasn't woken up from all this commotion, was she?" "No." Donald lied, averting his gaze. Perhaps the storm drowned out the noise. Or maybe she's just exhausted and sleeping soundly. Remembering all that his sister had been through today, Clark nodded in agreement. "Thanks for your help." "It's our pleasure to serve you and Bella," Donald replied with a smile on his face. Just as Clark was about to enter his room, he added, "Oh, and leave him alive." Tomorrow, he, Bella, and Romeo were set to visit a location that Carol had left behind. He didn't want to attract unnecessary attention. Donald paused for a brief moment, and then reassured him, "Don't worry, Mr. Clark, he saved our boss' life once. We won't harm him." "Saved Bella?" Clark turned back. "How come?" Donald didn't expect Clark to be unaware of that. He was surprised, and then he explained, "When our boss first came here, she was alone and vulnerable. She nearly died. But he saved her. I heard she was severely injured, barely hanging on to her life. If not for him, she might have." "Why was she injured?" Clark asked, his heart aching. "Who hurt her? Why would they?" Donald was taken aback, but he continued to say, "Our boss is beautiful, and when she first arrived here, it was inevitable that some would have ill intentions, wanting to claim her for themselves. She came here alone, searching for herbs. She had a hard time. The whole of Mafia Flame felt sorry for her." Clark understood the situation, and it hurt even more. Of course, his beautiful sister would attract attention in such a ruthless place. No wonder she hid her identity as a woman and rarely showed herself. When she did show herself, she posed as Mr. Bryant to avoid unnecessary trouble. "Mr. Clark, please don't tell our boss that told you about this," Donald pleaded as he was nervous. He had no idea that his boss hadn't told Clark about her past, probably to spare him the pain. Seeing Clark's reaction made him regret his loose tongue. Outside, Dennis held a knife to one man's throat. "Don't push me to do this. You, let Arnold go." The crowd was furious. Arnold was held hostage, too scared to even make a move. "Enough." One man yelled, "We've given you enough leeway out of respect for Bella. Don't push your luck. Do you plan on waking the entire castle tonight? I warn you, Bella hates being threatened. If you know what's good for you, let Arnold go." The commotion outside was growing. Clark didn't return to his room. Instead, he went to the window overlooking the courtyard. It seemed like one of Bella's men was being held hostage. Donald was anxious. If Bella didn't come out of her room, would Clark realize that she wasn't there? Thinking that, he urged, "Mr. Clark, don't worry about it. You should go take rest. Arabella, need to speak with you." In the midst of the storm, Dennis's voice rang out clearly, "I need to see you." Not just Tom, even the rest of the crew were growing anxious. "Shut it, will you?" Clark was still resting inside. If he discovered that the boss and Romeo had left him behind to handle stuff on their own, they'd be done for, not just the boss. "Arabella, come out. See me." Dennis held a knife to Arnold's throat, shouting loudly. He didn't want to harm anyone close to Arabella, but he needed to see her right now, the sooner the better. Clark upstairs heard all that and said soothingly, "He must have something urgent to discuss with Bella. Let me check it out." "No, Clark, don't go." Donald quickly intercepted him. "You're hurt. Stay inside and rest. Tom will handle everything. Besides, it's pouring outside, and you're wounded. If your condition worsens..." "It's fine. I'll just ask him to lower his voice. Don't want him to wake Bella up." Clark started heading towards the stairs. "I'll also ask him what's up. If it's really urgent, can relay the message." Seeing Clark painfully hobbling down the stairs, Donald grew more anxious and followed him, saying, "Mr. Clark, let us handle this little issue. Go back and rest. It's not a big deal." As Donald worried about how to stop him, he heard a noise from outside. The boss. The boss car is back. Finally, the boss is back. I always worry when the boss goes out on her own, but I feel relieved every time I see her car return safely. 20 or so people called out for the boss, their voices echoing throughout the castle. Someone even fetched an umbrella to open the car door for Arabella so that she wouldn't get wet when coming out of the car. "Boss, are you hurt? Did you come out on top? Did any scumbag follow you? If so, I'll get a team to intercept them." Seeing the girls step out of the car, Dennis realized that Tom hadn't lied to him. Arabella really had been out on business and wasn't in the castle. He instinctively let go of Arnold, who quickly ran into the crowd, rubbing his aching neck. Damn, Dennis really didn't hold back. "It's all good." It went smoothly. Arabella looked up, her bright and beautiful eyes particularly striking in the dark night. Seeing Dennis, she seemed surprised as she asked, "What are you doing here?" "Arabella, come with me. I'll explain on the way." Just as Dennis was about to take Arabella's hand, he was suddenly blocked. It was Romeo. He pulled Arabella to his side, his dark eyes deepening. What did that guy want with his fiancée in the middle of the night? Seeing Dennis' anxiety, Arabella handed her stuff to Romeo and said softly, "Romeo, need to step out. Once Clark wakes up, give these things to him." She thought Clark was still sleeping in the castle, unaware that at that very moment, he was standing by the first-floor window, watching their every move. At first, he thought he was seeing things. But when the girls stepped out of the car, the radiant and charming face belonged to no one else but his sister. The thunderstorm outside, the arguing and the commotion, none of it had woken her up. Because she wasn't in her room. Clark instinctively looked at Donald, who guiltily lowered his head. So, why did his sister need to sneak out in the middle of the night for some business? And why did those people collude to keep it from him? Could it be that the place where his sister went was the location that Carol left behind? He was worried about the dangers, that's why she didn't let him follow. Upon a closer look, Romeo, who had returned with his sister, had also deceived him. He and Bella's wedding plans were not even settled yet, and they were already teaming up to deceive him. Clark decided to go and settle the score with them. "Clark, don't get upset. She just wanted you to rest more since you're injured." Donald hurriedly followed, trying to explain. "The boss didn't tell you because she didn't want you to worry and lose sleep." Outside, Romeo, with his head lowered, asked the girl in front of him, "Where do you want to go?" Off to the side, Dennis was anxiously whispering, "Arabella, we're running out of time. Can I tell you later?" Arabella wasn't sure what was happening, but she had a hunch it had something to do with the person Dennis mentioned that day. That person was probably not going to make it. "Be careful with everything and call me anytime if there's any situation." Romeo didn't want to restrict her freedom or ask too many questions about what she was up to. He gave her great trust and space. "Come back soon," he gently patted Arabella's head, like reminding a child. A subordinate handed an umbrella. Dennis took it first, waiting for Arabella to take the first step. "I'll be back soon, we can keep in touch." Arabella's words seemed to put Romeo's mind at ease. His expression softened. Seeing him smile, Arabella and Dennis left together. Her slender figure slowly left Romeo's sight. Romeo watched her leave, with a complex expression on his face. Tom held his breath for a while before finally saying, "Don't worry, Mr. Macmillan, the boss just went to take care of some business, she'll be back soon enough." Romeo still stood there, watching the car drive away into the distance. No one knew what he was thinking. Dennis was in such a hurry, must be something urgent that he needs the boss help. He rarely comes here. There's no choice but to help him, the boss owes him a favor. No one knew who said the last sentence, but Romeo's gaze fell on him as he curiously asked, "Owes him a favor? Didn't the boss tell you?" The man realized he had misspoken, quickly covering his mouth, but it was already too late. Romeo's gaze was too intense for him to bear, so he looked to Tom for help. Tom could only briefly explain the situation. Even though it was brief, Romeo's heart still ached. So, before he knew Bella, she had already suffered so much. Some hardships, even men couldn't bear, but she persisted. Just as Clark was about to step out of the castle door, he saw Romeo walking back with an umbrella, step by step up the stairs. "Clark." The tone of Romeo's voice felt like he was a bit surprised. Clark's face was gloomy. It's one thing for Bella to act recklessly, but how could you join her? In the middle of the night, in torrential rain, if something happened, I would feel guilty and miserable for the rest of my life. Although you can protect her, it's the unexpected that's terrifying. Donald, standing nearby, pleaded with Romeo with his eyes. He didn't mean to spill the beans. Because he mentioned that Dennis owed Bella a favor, they wasted some time, and that's why things escalated to that point. We finally found Bella in our family, and don't want anything to happen to her. I especially don't want her to be in trouble because of me. Can you understand that? Clark's voice deflated like a punctured football. "No, I know I'm injured, and I'm just going to slow you guys down. But at least, can take a bullet for Bella, right? I'm willing to be a human shield, however much, can block. And if it's about Carol, don't want to miss any chance to uncover the truth. Want to be involved, that is all I'm asking for." He didn't want to feel useless, just sitting at home waiting for news, with everything being taken care of by his sister and brother-in-law. He wanted to pull his weight. Especially because that involved Carol. "Clark, we don't think you're a burden," Romeo said, his eyes brimming with sincerity, his voice warm and respectful. "You're injured, we just want you to get some rest. That's all. You haven't been sleeping well, we can see that. It worries us." Seeing Clark's mood slightly improve, Romeo continued to say, "Bella and know this area well, it's easy for us to move around. The only reason we kept you in the dark was that we didn't want you to worry, we were afraid you'd lose another night's sleep." He again explained, "Bella knows you. She knows that as a big brother, you would risk everything for your sister in a dangerous situation. So, she doesn't want you to be a shield. She just wants you to be okay, to find Carol, and live a happy life. Clark, you shouldn't feel like you haven't contributed. Getting to this point wasn't the result of any one person's efforts. It was a team effort." "There's one more thing," Romeo said, suddenly changing the subject. "Tonight Bella and found the place. It's an unnamed mountain, guarded by many people. Using the key Carol left behind, we managed to sneak in. In the innermost lab, Bella cracked the code. When she tried to download the data package, 3 problems came up." Clark's heart clenched, his attention redirected instantly as he worriedly asked, "What problems?" "They're about you." Romeo briefly recounted that night's events. Besides surprise, Clark's heart also filled with a sense of thrill. All 3 questions were related to him. Who else but Carol would set such questions? At the most critical moment, she set these questions. "It shows that in Carol's heart, you're a very important person," Romeo added. "Clark, you've been protecting what's most precious to Carol in your own way." Clark's heart stirred again as he curiously asked, "Did she leave behind any message?" "No," Romeo took out his phone, "but we cracked 2 data packages. I'll send them to you right now. They probably contain the truth that you want to know." Why did Carol suddenly break up with him? Why did she disappear without a trace? What was her relationship with the organization they encountered that night? Probably they all were answered in the data packages. Clark took out his phone, anxiously waiting for the data to be sent. The cause of their breakup that had troubled him for so long, the truth behind her disappearance that he, Bella, and Romeo had been investigating, was about to be revealed. His emotions were a mix of excitement, unease, trepidation, and anxiety. Clark took out his phone, anxiously waiting for the data to be sent. The cause of their breakup that had troubled him for so long, The truth behind her disappearance that he, Bella, and Romeo had been investigating was about to be revealed. His emotions were a mix of excitement, unease, trepidation, and anxiety. One is 6 gigabytes, and the other 7 gigabytes, Romeo said, referring to the size of the data packages. That indicated there was a lot of information, too much to go through in one sitting. Just then, Romeo's phone vibrated. He glanced at it and looked up. "Clark, have some business to attend to. You start reading. Take a break if you get tired. Bella's gone to run an errand. If you need anything, just reach out to me." "Okay, be careful on your way back." Clark was about to go upstairs when he suddenly remembered something. "Tonight, neither of you were hurt, right?" "No. That's good." Clark sighed in relief. "From now on, no matter what happens, don't keep anything from me." "All right."
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.